Hi guys, this is NWOTHM and I'm back with a new episode of the Metal Mailbox. This one is going to be about Punishment 18 Records, a label from Italy. And because the label is Italian, most of the bands that we're going to see here today are Italian. I'd like to take a moment to wish them all well in this crisis that we're going through. We are all facing it, but then are being hit the hardest so far. So be safe, guys. The first one I'm going to show you is the sole reason I got this package from Punishment 18 Records, because it was the singer Massimo Ventura who made this all possible. Thank you, man. And the album is Hounds, Warrior of Sun. This is a very distinctive heavy power metal album, especially because of the vocals. Despite the clear influence of US power metal, it's very difficult to say a band they are similar to. But because of the way they use the keyboards to create epic atmospheres, I have to throw bands like Sabotage and Virgin Steel on the mix. So if you like any of those bands, and of course US power metal, you have to check Hounds, Warrior of Sun. The second one is Ruler, Descent into Hades. I was quite surprised when I saw the announcement of this release last year, because when I created this channel and started looking for new bands, their previous album, Rise to Power, immediately caught my attention. But it was released in 2013, 6 years before Descent into Hades finally saw the light of the day. But as Skullface said on their last album, better late than never. I don't think Descent into Hades is better than Rise to Power, but it's definitely worth a listen. Preferably with friends and a beer. Maybe when all of this is over, we can have that.
Lost here, waiting for a sign. No one left to blame. There's no turning back to take a fight. I don't care, nobody cares. No tears living on my fears. Life is fading away. I don't wanna know why I won't fight anymore.
The third one is Black Phantom, Better Beware. And if it was difficult to say a band that Hounds sounds similar to, the same cannot be said about Black Phantom. They definitely worship at the Iron Maiden altar. It's not only the voice though, as the bass player here, Andrea Tito, he sounds also like Steve Harris. To make things even clearer, they decided to include a cover of Total Eclipse as a bonus track. Black Phantom recently released a new album called 0 Hour Is Now, and you can listen to it on the channel. The next one is the only band on this Metal Mailbox that I've seen live before. And I'm talking about Overruled. When I saw them, they haven't released Hybris yet, but the potential was clear to anyone seeing them. Hybris is on the heavy metal and thrash metal frontier, let's say like early Metallica and Anthrax, and bands like Whiplash. I had a hard time deciding if they should be on the channel or not because of the quality, but only because of the style. But judging by the comments on their album on the channel, I think I made the right decision. The next one is arguably one of the best Italian heavy metal bands of the 80s. Venexa, they returned with a new album in 2016 22 years after their latest studio album. It's quite rare for classic bands to release new albums as good as their golden years, unless you're Satan. But for a band who hasn't released an album in 22 years, like I mentioned before, Vanexa did a good job on this one. I'm sure the fans of the band were pleased with Too Heavy to Fly. The next one is a 2020 release, and it's Secret Alliance Solo Warden. When I listened to the first seconds of Solo Warden, I was immediately reminded of Glenn Hughes' solo career and some of the projects that he was into, like Voodoo Hill and Black Country Communion. Secret Alliance is actually a supergroup led by guitarist Gianluca Galli, featuring Andrea Hanfa from Vanexa Too Heavy to Fly album, the great Tony Franklin on bass, and the Brazilian drummer Ricardo Confessori from former Angra. There are also important guests here with Frank Gambale and Alex Mazzi included. So Secret Alliance, if you are into the bands I mentioned, like Glenn Hughes' solo career and Voodoo Hill, Black Country Communion, you should check this one. The next one is Hasgate, Welcome Mass Hysteria. This is pure thrash metal, and I've seen them compared to great bands both from the American and German schools of thrash metal, but to me they sound more like early to mid 90s Testament. This album, Welcome to Mass Hysteria, is from 2018, but they just released a new one called After the Storm, The Fire. And the last one is Iberdoma, I hope it's pronounced like that, Seat of Ruins. And this is probably the hardest band to categorize on this metal mailbox. They sound like a power thrash with some traditional heavy metal elements at times, but with a modern approach. And the vocals sometimes, not all the times, just sometimes, they reminded me of Dave Mustaine in The System Has Failed. So if you like more modern power thrash with some traditional heavy metal elements to it, you should check Iberdoma, Seat of Ruins. This is it, guys. I would like to thank Punishment 18 Records and also Massimo Ventura. Thank you for the records, and see you soon. Bye bye.